Welcome to Altar of the Brew. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. It's time to brew something new.
Happy Monday. We're working on Preston the Vanisher today. It's a pretty sweet deck. Preston reads 3 and a white for a 2/5 legendary rabbit wizard. Whenever another non-token creature... Oop, I lost it. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if it wasn't cast, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's an 0/1 white illusion, and then it has an activated ability for 1 and a white. You can sacrifice 5 illusions and exile target non-land permanent. This card is awesome. I have been pumped about it all week. There's a lot of different ways you can take creatures entering the battlefield and not being cast. Seems like a lot of the common ways that people use are to blink creatures.
Yep.
But we have kind of a different design in mind. We want to return it into mono-white Reanimator. Maybe some smaller stuff, though.
Right, but at the same time, like, our thought process was not like Reanimator like you think of like legacy, vintage Reanimator. We're like, hey, here's Grizzlebrand. Like, we're thinking more of along the abusing the White's new thing that it's really fallen into place with this whole 3 CMC and under returning to the battlefield, basically like Sun Titan deck, if you would.
Yes, Savine's Reclamation, other cards that do very similar things.
Right. Abusing the kind of lower end CMC effective white creatures, and then kind of like building this engine based around, well, one of them's good, 2 of them's got to be better. Maybe we can even make it more.
Yeah. So it's a basically value Reanimator where, because you're getting ETB triggers, you're going to be able to just generate so much velocity in your advantage of value that no one's going to be able to keep up with you once you start churning. So with that, we've already established some basic rocks here. All the 2 mana ones that we like: Arcane Signet, Fracture, Power Stone, Mind Stone. Pro Medallion's great. Being a monocolor deck, having those medallions is fantastic. Prismatic Lens, Soul Ring, Thought Vessel. Just started with a pile of planes, but we might change some out. The standard removal that white gets is just Sword's Path, Generous Gift. If our artifact count skyrockets, then maybe Dispatch is a good add for this.
We're big Dispatch fans.
Like that card a lot. Also, I got a spicy removal spell that I recently discovered.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet for this deck. So
very sweet.
My first ad that I want to put in, because it has the words whenever it enters the battlefield under your control if it wasn't cast. So anything that enters the battlefield, well, I want to put a Panharmonicon in this bad boy. Because, what's better than 1 trigger? 2.
Yes.
Well, you know what's better than 2 triggers? 4. So
yeah, I'm all about it.
I'm definitely a big fan of Panharmonicon.
We just get the...
We'll go ahead and bring up our chat
make
here.
sure we get the chat up on too. There we go.
Alrighty. Sweet.
So yeah, Panharmonicon, and do you see this really sweet new one that they have?
I did not. Oh, look at that.
Look at this thing.
That's fancy. I am partial to the old frame, but that is so cool looking.
You know what? And like
Whoa.
and like $7. Like,
Yeah.
Panharmonicon used to be money.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
So sweet new printing on that. That's awesome. Oh, I think that do you want to focus on getting the reanimation first? What we're going to reanimate, card advantage, those kind of things.
Well, we said it was Sun Titan deck.
Oh, so you're right.
I feel like Sun Titan's the first include.
That's a good point.
Right?
That's a good point.
Like your marquee card. Your
You gotta have Sun Titan. This is so good. 6 mana, 6/6 with Vigilance, Giant. When it enters, you can return enters or attacks. By the way, you can return any permanent from your graveyard with CMC 3 or less. So if you were to return Sun Titan through some sort of reanimation, it will enter the battlefield, and then Preston will see it and give you an 0/1 copy, which also lets you reanimate something. So 2 Sun Titan triggers. It just kind of goes off the chains when you have Preston giving you all these extra copies of things.
So the other way that white has been doing some ramp effects is some ways to abuse this. So maybe because you're playing the Sun Titan, do you want to play even if we play the budget fetches like the Terramorphic Expanses or Evolving Wilds to keep getting back fetches? Is that something we want to think about?
I mean, yeah, I'll definitely throw them in there. They're definitely more than fine. And you don't need the expensive ones for a brew like this.
No, I mean you could put your favorite ones from from New Capenna too, if you wanted.
I do love the New Capenna fetches. I think they're fantastic, and I think not enough folks are playing them.
And don't they gain us life? We had some things in this that were like maybe some life gain payoffs too, maybe buried in this deck.
Yeah, I think just a pair of Soul Sisters is great. Actually, one of the cards that Steve and I were discussing all week kind of will help guide us on our path, I think, and it's called
Abiding Grace.
Abiding Grace, yeah. So this is a really neat card that I don't think it's played all that much, but it's a 3-mana enchantment for 2 and a white. It says, beginning of your end step, choose one. You can either gain a life or return a creature card with mana value 1 from your graveyard to the battlefield. Doesn't seem all that powerful, but there are some bangers at 1 in white. And the first one I think that I would put in would be this one. It's Esper Sentinel. If you don't know it, it's awesome. It's just, there's a reason it's $30, but it's a 1 mana, 1/1 artifact creature, human soldier, and human might even be kind of relevant. We'll talk about that. It says whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless they pay X, where X is Sentinel's power. Granted, a second one of these isn't really going to net you much.
If it's a 0/1.
If it's a 0/1, but there's some ways to buff tokens that are pretty sweet in this deck too.
Sure.
So I think this is a slam 1-drop that you could just keep getting back if they kill it. As long as it doesn't get exiled, you can just keep buying it. So it's really, really sweet. Also just ups your artifact count too. And then the other thing is you can tutor it off of many cool creatures.
Right.
That white plays.
Do you want to focus on adding more 1-drops? You want to go down that path to adding some of those creatures that get us more of our kind of 1-drop, our white weenies, if you would?
I'm okay starting at the 1-drops. Like we put the Abiding Grace in here, and this card you really need to be committed to having 1-drops in your deck. So if this is something we are going to do, we do got to stack up the ones a bit.
All right, let's stack them up.
I'm thinking like...
You want Mom?
8 to 10. Yeah, we're definitely going to play Mother Runes.
And Stepmom?
I like to call her Stepmom. That's a name I hadn't heard. I like it. So Mother Runes, 1 white, 1/1 human cleric tap. Target creature you control gains protection with the color of your choice till the turn. That effect is bananas.
Yes.
And getting 2 of those after reanimating it means you now can protect so many more things. Being able to keep Preston in the field is going to be super important for this deck.
Yeah.
At least for the value anyway. And then the other one's called... it's the core. It's called Giver of Runes, yeah.
Yeah, Stepmom.
Which is awesome. Why is it so much more expensive than Mother Runes? Mother Runes is just better.
Because they've printed Mother Runes like 1,000,000 times now.
So Giver Runes is the same thing, but it's a 1/2. Core Cleric, another target creature you control gains protection from colorless or from the color of your choice until turn. So slightly better protection it can give, but it can't protect itself like Mom can.
I think one of my favorite pieces of tech from my Adeline deck would be Giant Killer.
Oh, Giant Killer is such a sweet card. Not only do you get this awesome creature, let me go ahead and bring it up here. It's a 1/2 human peasant, and it has a 1 and a white tap to tap target creature, which is good if you get an 0/1 copy. You can still use its activated ability.
Sure.
But then it has this awesome instant on it as being a storybook card.
Adventure.
Adventure, thank you. And it's an instant for 2 and a white. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So that is...
Right.
That's solid.
Yeah, getting it to your hand, casting it, getting a creature tutor, bringing it to your hand, using it as a removal spell, then casting it as a permanent on the battlefield that just can take a threat out of a game, is really more powerful than you think, right? You're like, tap a creature, that's not great. And you're like, yeah? You ever beat an Ulamog with a 1 mana card?
Yeah, this thing comes back as an 0/1 copy with Preston, so even just having 2 of these things, for 4 mana, you basically just keep all of the hardest threats from bothering you, or it lets you be more political in a game too.
Sure.
Hey, if you don't attack me, I'll tap that thing down so he can't hurt you with it. That kind of stuff. So
sure.
Very, very useful utility. And the fact that all that is packed into a cheap card too. It's 35 cents.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. One of my
showcase variants of it too.
One of my all right, I was gonna say this is the best 1 mana card in all of Commander. Best 1 mana creature probably in all of Commander.
Yes.
It's called Sarah Ascendant. Normally this card would be very fair. We're gonna change this artwork though because I don't like that very much myself. Just because I need. You need
Iconic Masters one?
No, I need the original.
Yeah.
First one that beat me into the ground and realized how powerful this card was.
Yeah, or that's your choice.
We can change it for funsies though. But 1 mana, 1/1 human monk. It's got lifelink. That's all it is. Nothing to worry about.
Sure.
Great card.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, it does say as long as you have 30 or more life, it gets 5/5 and has flying. So obviously on turn 1 you have a 6/6 flying lifelinker. It's pretty bananas because in Commander you start with 40 life. So this card was designed back in the old days of Magic when 20 life was the standard. Hey, what's going on? Who we got there?
The Rodney.
The Rodney. Is this Kyle? Hey, Kyle. Good to see you, buddy. Sarah Sundance Sweet, though. Are there some cool arts for it outside of that one that we just saw?
The Iconic Masters one's pretty cool, too.
Yeah, I like the big shimmering light behind it. This one is a little darker, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
hey, it's our deck. If you like that art, I have no problem putting it in.
What else? What else do you like in your 1-drop slot? Are we playing any of the Soul? Are we playing Soul Sisters at all?
I think they're so free and so good to play. They generate an enormous amount of value, and they also are anti-combo creatures, which is really cool.
I think we can win the game with Sarah Ascendants if we stack enough of them.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
Can you imagine sacking that thing and then Sun Tightening it every turn and then getting 2 of them every turn?
Oh, yeah. So that's the other thing I didn't mention about Sarah Ascendant that was really important, is that because it is base stats are a 1/1, when Preston copies it, it's going to make an 0/1 lifelinker. But as long as you still have 30 or more life, it's going to get 5/5 in flying. So you'll have a 6/6 flyer and a 5/6 flyer with lifelink, all for the reasonable price of reanimating out of your bin with Abiding Grace at the end of your turn.
Jorvik asked what we're brewing today. We're brewing Preston the Vanisher.
Yes, this is Preston. It's a sweet.
So we're getting value off of things entering the battlefield that weren't cast. So we decided to take this kind of in a Weenies Reanimator package kind of direction. Largely inspired by cards like like Sun Titan and another card we really like, Abiding Grace. I really think literally Sarah Ascendant could be our win con.
It's definitely it's so easy to put it in because it doesn't take up an 8-drop or a 7. It's just you can just jam it on 1. If it dies, you get it back.
What else you like in the 1 spot?
So I think that the protection is still really important. I have a list of several different Alcida
Life Bounty,
Benevolent Bodyguard. I have.
Is that at 1 too?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then.
Is the dog at 1 or is the dog at 2?
The dog is at 1 as well.
Okay.
So I tried to, when I was narrowing down which ones that I think might be better ones for that.
I'm grabbing my 1-drop white deck.
Yeah.
For ideas too over here.
But so it's really what your tastes from
the library of Dang.
Right? From the library of Dang. So Selfish Slavier is a 1-mana 1/1 dog. You can sack it to give another creature you control indestructible until end of turn. And again, you get a copy of it. Now your 2 things are protected against wraths. You have I forgot to mention. Even though we're still working on the 1-mana creatures thing, because Preston makes tokens. Anointed Procession is just the slam dunk of cards in this deck.
Sure.
It just makes double tokens. So right there, you're already making three things for every creature that comes back, which is just incredible. So you got that. A funny one. I don't know if you want to put it in your main deck, but I think this is a first considering card. It's a card called Kami of the False Hope. And this is for those of you who like Spore Frog, this is your forever fog, as long as you get it back every turn with Abiding Grace. Or any other of the reanimation spells we're going to discuss. But basically it's just a 1-mana 1/1 spirit, sack it, and fog. Personally, I don't think I would play it in my normal deck. It would great in a budget version. Just because there's a lot of real strong stuff to play in this.
Hopeful Initiate was another one I had in my 1-drop list for sure. Did you get the Benevolent Bodyguard in there yet?
I did not yet. No, not yet.
So this is more of a considering.
$750 already.
Yeah, it's got a lot of different formats of play.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
The training works really well with the 0/1 as well. So it's a 1-mana 1/2 human warlock with training, which means when it attacks with a creature with greater power, it will get a 1/1 counter put on it. And then you can pay 2 and a white to remove 2 1/1 counters and just destroy an artifact or enchantment. So great card there. We see the Benevolent Bodyguard, maybe.
Yep.
Just another protection creature. You sack it to give, I think it's protection. Yeah, sack to give a creature you control protection from the color of your choice until the turn. I actually had considered Owl Seed of Life's Bounty, which does the exact same thing, but you have to pay mana for it, so the free sack seems better.
And what's the dog?
The dog is Selfless Savior.
That's the
it
one.
gives it indestructible, yeah. There is another dog, but it's a defender, so getting it back means it's a little less good, I think.
So this was my other 1-drop that I play is Devoted Caretaker.
Devoted Caretaker. Let's take a look at it. Whoa.
You get that 1 printing, and it was from Odyssey.
It's true. 1 white, 1/2 cleric. Tap a white, tap it. Target permanent you control gains protection from instant spells and from sorceries until end of turn. That's cool. Just help it prevents removal. Yeah.
It's probably like too many redundancies of what we already have in the list. If it's protection for some other stuff. I don't know. It's probably the more cuttable one of them. You have to pay mana.
And you have to tap it.
Yeah. So it doesn't really work with when we bring stuff back. So I think you'd put it in the considering list for now.
Yeah, definitely worth putting in the considering board. My favorite thing about Commander is that you can just I have all these great cards, and that deck has some cool cards in it. And I have cards that are similar analogs to that. I can just swap out because I like them better or own them.
Right. I play that one particularly in my Adeline list because it's a human, and that deck cares about humans. So more than it cares about dogs or. I don't even know what's Elseid of Life Bounty. It's an enchantment creature. I know that, but what is it beyond that? I don't know what's its other type.
A nymph.
A nymph. Yes, it doesn't. Adeline doesn't care about nymphs.
It's a fun nymph. Yeah. Let's see. So I think that covers most of the 1-drops that I had looked at. So just one I had considered, especially with the token doubling. Thraben Inspector is like a sneaky good card.
Yeah. In
a deck like this, not only is it a human if you care about humans, but it's a 1-mana 1/2. And when it enters, it makes a clue. So it does up your artifact count if you need those. Say you do really want to play Dispatch. It's just a much easier way of helping you get that Metalcraft for your Dispatch. I'll put it in the board for those who don't know it.
Yeah, I would just put it in the list for now. If we don't think we're going to get there.
Yeah, we can just cut it, yeah. So Dispatch, just a 1-mana white instant. It would tap a creature, but if you have Metalcraft, which is 3 or more artifacts, you just exile it. So it's Path and Swords. It's exactly the same as Path and Swords with Metalcraft, except there's no downside to it.
Right. They don't get to go search for anything. They don't get to gain any life.
And as much as I don't want to say that the tap target creature is fairly irrelevant, sometimes it's just relevant. You just get that one last turn. That Voltron Commander's coming in, and I can sneak in my white spell on it somehow, and just got there. So it's a great card. I have Tragic Poet as another one. You know this card?
No.
Love this card. This is an old one too.
Maybe by look, not by name.
Yeah, so Tragic Poet is another 1-mana creature. It's a human. 1/1.
know this one.
You can tap and sack it to return an enchantment from your graveyard to your hand. So it lets you get back your Abiding Grace, your Anointed Procession, any other enchantments you might want to play in here. That would be very good. There's a few that we've been discussing, but it's definitely reasonable towards human count if you want to go humans, because there's a lot of great humans in white.
Yep.
And I was looking at a hilarious version with Champion of the Parish, which would get monstrously big. So that's a sweet card. And then my last 1-drop creature that I was really into was Weathered Wayfarer.
If you guys have not played with this card yet, get into it.
This is a neat card, and it's come down a lot from its bajillion dollars it used to be when it was only 1 printing. Now it's like $4. Oh, look at that, it's $3. So you tap it. It's a 1-mana 1/1 white nomad human cleric, which is interesting. Tap a white, tap it, insert your library for any land card. And you just put it in your hand, shuffle, and then activate only if your opponent controls more lands than you. And what do we want to get with that? What's the first land I think I want to get with it?
Amiria the Skyruin.
So, Amiria the Skyruin is... this is the white reanimation land. It does the thing you want it to do the whole time.
For free.
So it enters tapped, but it says beginning of your upkeep. If you control 7 or more planes, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then it taps for white. So it's basically just a tapped land, but after get late in the game, all of a sudden you're just getting these haymakers back. And it even gets to a point, because it's at the beginning of your upkeep, you can even let Preston die sometimes instead of having to pay the commander tax and just reanimate him if you have to.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about the Preston reanimation concept, is that you just get to, sometimes you can just let him die and then just buy him back again.
Yeah.
Without having to spend the commander tax. So
I think while you're on the Weathered Wayfarer lands thing, is there anything else on a land perspective that you're thinking about? For this list, something special else that Weather Wafer get? Are we playing like Mazeith? Are we playing like glacial chasms? Are we? Now there's some stuff that I love to do with Weather's Wayfarer.
So those bring up some interesting questions of one, how do we want to win? Because I think the lands will help us define that in a certain aspect.
True.
We can just put value lands in. We can put interesting lands in. Like you can put what's the Dark Depths with Thespian Stage near, because Weather Wayfarer just allows you to get that. And trust me when I say there's a lot of ways to tutor these 1-mana creatures out. It's very, very effective, especially when you start doubling and getting lots of card draw.
I think probably like the card that I would want to see in that spot the most, that's just a War Room.
War Room is fantastic in this deck. So it's just a land that lets you draw cards, cost 3 mana and tap it, and you pay life equal to your commander's colors. And,
so pay 3 mana, tap it, draw a card.
Yep. Just
lose a life. Okay.
Drawing cards is fantastic.
Why not?
We all know that. It's the best. I also think you can get some really good support lands here, like Castle Lochthwain. We're going to be having, not Lochthwain, Castle Ardenvale. It's just a white castle. It's basically free if you have the plains in the field. Just says, it enters tapped unless you control plains, but taps for white. You pay 4 white and tap it, you can make a human. It's fine.
Yeah.
If you want to go human route, this is extra great in that deck. If you don't, then it's just, okay, I have a token doubler out, and then I make 2 humans for 2 mana. Or for 4 mana. Totally fine. I guess technically it's 5 mana because you have to tap the land, but yeah.
But if, you know what, you have no cards in your hand, that's a heck of a lot better than just passing the turn.
Yeah, and then also for just like, just from playing experience, like, a lot of times you might have some cards, but maybe only a few. This is a great thing to just pass with and still be able to put pressure on the table while not spending more cards. So especially if you have the Anointed Procession out, or if you're copying that with something else like Mirage Mirror or whatever, you can make like 4 dudes for 5 mana. Still be threatening, And with that, because we're making tokens, I want to put the background in that makes your tokens enormous.
That's not Inspiring Leader. It's the other.
It's the other one, yeah. I think actually Inspiring Leader makes a lot of sense too. It is called. Come on, where is it?
I did not have that one saved on.
Oh, it is Inspiring Leader.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep.
Folk Hero is the other one I'm thinking of that lets you, if you get draw cards if you cast the same creature type.
So it's Inspiring Leader, 2 and a white, legendary enchantment background. Just says commander creatures you own have creature tokens get 2/2. So for 3 mana, that's a really good double buff for all the O1s that Preston makes as white illusions. And the cool thing is, a lot of people will tend to try to kill Preston as opposed to the Inspiring Leader because it shuts Inspiring Leader off, and we have lots of ways of protecting Preston. So it's just fantastic. And it is 3 CMC, which does work with the Sun Titan package if it does get destroyed for any reason.
Sure.
So it's one of the reasons I really like Abiding Grace, Inspiring Leader. I don't think this is Smothering Tithe deck. You're not really out to tax people, and we're kind of low in the mana curve, so we're not like hurting for mana.
Sure. But we're not trying to get up there.
There is another
Probably
land.
Gonna run out of cards before we run out of mana in that regards, right? We're gonna try and have all these like low to the ground drops, so we're gonna try and need to draw some cards here.
Oh yeah, and before we get to the draw cards, because I think there's a lot of good ones. I just want to put one more land in the deck that it's new Kamigawa land. Ganjo, the new one, because the cool thing about Weather Wayfarer is you can get Seat of the Empire, which is another land. So you could technically activate Weather Wayfarer on your opponent's turn to get a Ganjo, then channel it to kill their thing. So it turns your land into another spell, which, right. If you guys have been following us, we love MDFCs, and that kind of turns it into an MDFC. It kind of is one already.
Sure.
It's modal lands, which are great. With that, do you think we should put any MDFCs in here?
I'm a big fan of Kabera Takedown.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a lot of creatures.
We got token creation. I'm always on this card. I even played it in one of my competitive lists because removal is awesome.
Yeah, basically, like, these just take land spots for us. Basically, what I would do is, like, okay, this deck's going to have 35 lands, but I'm going to have, like, 4 or 5 MDFCs or modal cards, so I have to make it 36 lands. Just a little bit easier for me. It's the way, kind of my easy math. But Kabera Takedown, 1 and a white, instant, deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to a creature or planeswalker. In this deck, if everything's working the way it's supposed to, we're probably going to have quite a few creatures in the field to be able to, turn that into quite the Terminator, if you will.
And I'm usually also on the Sajiri Shelter.
I love Sajiri Shelter, especially in this one, because we want this commander to stick around. And these, again, on the backside, they're just tapped white lands. But on the front side, this one is 1 white instinct. Target creature you control gains protection from the color of your choice. It's just fantastic. And I like the other one, whose name is escaping me.
You want the Overrun one or the Kill Everyone? Malakir? No.
Malakir's black.
It does an M, though, isn't it?
I want to say it does. Here, let me search it up while you bring up the next cards here that you think would be good.
All right.
This is fun. This deck is already my favorite deck ever.
So I think we also talked about, some of the classic Reanimator white creatures that are going to go in a deck like this. It's always going to be Revel Arc.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's always going to be Karmic Guide. There is another kind of less good Sun Titan.
Yep, it's Bishop of Rebirth. It is a 5 mana. I think it's a 3/3. I want to say it's a 3/3. 3/4.
It's Vigilance still.
It's got Vigilance. When it attacks, you can return a creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it reanimates most of your value creature package.
Right, but now we're unlike Sun Titan, it's just as creatures, it's not permanents.
Yeah.
And it's not when it enters and when it attacks, it's only when it attacks. It's definitely not as good. Makindi Stampede. Is that what it is?
That's what it's called. It's taking its dear sweet time. There it is. I didn't even know it was called McKindy Mesas in the back, but I've played this one as a land so many times.
Sure.
So this one,
just
sorcery. Where did sorcery go?
It
has to generate. It's Moxfield's fault. They're running slow.
It's like sorceries. Who plays sorcery?
So granted, this is not a good rate for this effect. Creatures you control get 2/2 until end of turn for 5 mana at sorcery speed. But because it's a land in the back, it's basically free to play, and we're going to go wide. So being able to put 50, 60 power on a sorcery is pretty good. You can level a game with this. I've won plenty of games with this card just being in my hand.
Sure.
It's very powerful.
I think the other new Sun Titan effect is that Sarah Paragon.
Sarah Paragon. Let's take a look at it. Sarah Para. Bishop of Rebirth. Yes, thank you, Kyle.
Is it fighting?
It's just taking its time.
Goes.
So here's Sarah Paragon, 2 white angel with flying 3/4. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. If you do, it gains when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, exile it, and you gain 2 life. Less good with the consistent reanimation that we're doing, but just an awesome rate for that card.
If you just are playing a fetch land and making your land drop every turn, I'm in.
Yeah, it's totally...
I'm in. A 4 mana 3/4 flyer anyway. Yeah, a
card like that makes me want to put something like Fabled Passage in here too.
Sure.
Similar to Sun Titan with the other ones. I'm okay playing. Because we're in a mono white deck and we're keeping a consistently low curve. It seems reasonable to be able to play a good amount of lands that do stuff. So I'm totally into the. Fabled Passage plan and other fetches. This is basically just Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse, but it says that if you have 4 or more lands, you just untap the land that it gets. It's always going to be getting the plains, so there's nothing really to worry about there.
Do you want to do some of our reanimation spell stuff?
Sure.
So I think I started with the newest one that was from Brothers War, Recommission.
Recommission.
Oh, you got one going here?
That's all right. We'll start with Recommission. It's a great card. I'm just going to crowd you a little bit here. Come on, Recommission. So Recommission's a 1 white sorcery. I believe it says return an artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less. Is that right?
Yep.
From your graveyard to the battlefield.
Artifact or creature, 3 or less. And it gets a +1/+1 counter as well.
Oh, sweet. And it gets bigger, too, so that's even better. It'll pop up here somehow. There we go. Yep. So that's a good one. The one that I really like, especially with having this many 1-drops, is called Patch Up, I think.
Yep.
So it's 2 and a white sorcery. Return any number of creatures from your graveyard to the battlefield with a total CMC 3 or less, I think it is. There it is. And it's cheap, 25 cents. Big on that. Get a little drag here. Let's see. Kyle, you've been playing quite some time. You got any good suggestions for this bad boy? Sorry, I was incorrect. It's return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
It's a lot better. It definitely doesn't get back 0 drops and stuff like that. Like any number, I was wrong about that. But then this also goes into the same. There's like an identical card to it called Proclamation of Rebirth. That also has an extra ability on it, which just makes it even more interesting for me. So it's the exact same thing, but it also has an ability called Forecast, I want to say it is, for 5 and a white. In your upkeep, you can pay 5 and a white, reveal it, and then bring back 1 creature with a CMC 1 or less.
Proclamations.
Yeah, I spelled that wrong. Somebody's sucking up all the internet. This pan harmonica looks super sweet, by the way.
So I think the other one we talked about was Savine's Reclamation at the beginning you mentioned. Want to get that in here. If our data entry can keep up with our brewing.
Yeah. So this Proclamation of Rebirth, it was actually in the Mystery Booster boxes recently as one of the retail foils. So it says return up to 3 target creature cards with converted mana cost 1 or less from your graveyard to play. It has that forecast ability, like I said. And Savine's Reclamation is a Sun Titan spell, 2 and a white. Just bring back a CMC 3 or less from your graveyard. But it also has flashback for 4 and a white.
4 and a white.
And you can bring back 2. So that's even better. This was just like a white staple at this point. It's so good. You can even use this as a ramp card early on, which is just fantastic in white.
Did we want to do some of the effects that kind of bring things back that entered the graveyard this turn?
They're good against like wraths and stuff, right?
Like brought back, and then the Faith's Reward is the heavier, more expensive one.
But brought back only digs 2, I think, and
Yeah.
the other one brings back all of them.
Yes.
What's that one called?
Faith's Reward. I don't know if that's kind of.
I mean,
It's a little heavy.
it comes down to it. It comes down to it. We can always
It is instant speed.
Yeah, instants are great. I even like there's a protection spell that gives all your creatures indestructible and populates for 3 mana at instant speed. That even seems reasonable here if we have a great O1 that's been made by Preston. You just protect your whole team and you get a free one if you want. So I don't know how you feel about that. I actually had a lot of 2-drops too, as well as 3-drops. Actually, I think now might be a good time to look at some more creatures because I like creatures a lot.
Sounds good.
Tutoring up your 1-drops is it's pretty spectacular in white.
We've got a couple options.
So we have these Ranger Captains. One of them is really cheap, and the other one is really expensive. But they're both really good.
Because turns out silence on a creature is amazing. If any of you have not played with Ranger Captain, being able to sacrifice it and silence your opponents is incredibly powerful. It sees play in all of the formats all the way to the top because, yeah, that's strong.
You play with this one a lot. You want to remember the stats on it?
No.
It's 1 white, 3/3, I believe. It tutors up a CMC 1 or less from your library. And then it has sacrifice and then silence somebody, which means they can't cast spells this turn.
No.
Silence
your opponents.
Sorry, this does all your opponents. This is even better than silence. Silence is one player.
Right.
No. Silence is all players, but it's a spell. Yeah.
Yes.
But a very powerful card. And then its original printing was Ranger of Eos. And this card, while not as powerful in the silence range, it costs 1 more mana, but it gets you 2 CMC 1 or less from your deck. And being able to double tutor for 4 mana for a creature that can also be reanimated, that can do it again and again and again, it's really powerful to have in this deck. And I really think these 1-drops are going to be ooh-wee good. So,
do you want to play... Is this a Recruiter of the Guard deck as well?
Oh, I think so. There's some other sweet 2-mana cards that are also quite good. And Recruiter of the Guard does get several of those. We'll do a budget brew next week. Sorry for the delay here, guys. Just waiting on this to come in. I clicked Advanced Search by accident, so it's going to take me a minute to click this off. All right, Recruiter of the Guard is a 2 and a white. It's coming. I believe it's a 1/1, and it says search your library for a creature with toughness 2 or less. So that's really spectacular. I think it's only got the 2 printings, right? This one needs more printings.
Yes.
Way too expensive.
Definitely.
And then while we're on the tutor train here, like getting the Anointed Procession, Inspiring Leader, Abiding Grace, those are going to be very powerful to go get. So I think like Enlightened Tutor and also Idyllic Tutor would be very good.
I think there's also another enchantment we both were talking about definitely wanting in this list. We'll get that in there.
Yeah. Wonder if it's Moxfield or if we're just dragging tonight. Enlightened Tutor. By the way, it says $23, but you can get it for a lot cheaper now. I just picked one up for $12 on TCG Player.
Yeah.
Just saying, it's pretty sweet. If you don't know what it is, though, it's a 1-mana white instant, and it says search your library for an artifact or an enchantment, put it on top of your library, or shuffle your library, then put it on top. It's a very good thing to cast in your upkeep if you need it. So very, very, very powerful card. And then Idyllic Tutor, while it does cost 3 mana and is a sorcery, it does let you go into your deck and find an enchantment and put it directly into your hand, which is very, very strong. And you might want to grab this card if you can soon because it's starting to climb again.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it was down to like $3 or $4 for a minute there after they reprinted it, but now I think it's climbing again. And we'll check out the price when it pops up here just for the confirmation. Yeah, $6.50.
Yeah, on its way back
and
up.
if you're really passionate and want to put a lot of enchantments in there, there's a 6-mana one from like Theros era that goes to get 2 enchantments out of your deck. Puts them here. It's double Idyllic Tutor. It's a little bit heavy for our deck, but if you played some enchantment creatures or other big enchantments that you really need to get, it's a fine card.
Do you want to talk about some of those other enchantments we wanted to add?
I want to do one more thing before we do. Just as part of this reanimation package and all these 1-mana creatures, there's a really neat creature that I don't really see get played all that often. It's called Vesper Lark. And I typed it wrong. Vesper Lark. But this is a really kind of odd design space, and I really dig it. And when it pops up, we'll be able to talk about it. It is a 2 and a white for a 2/1 with flying. And it says when it leaves the battlefield, not even when it dies, but when it leaves the battlefield. So if it gets blinked for any reason, it just reanimates a creature card with power 1 or less from your graveyard. So it can get back other things, not just low CMC, but like, say we put Felidar Guardian in this list. It can actually bring back a Felidar Guardian, and then you can blink Vesper Lark with it and get something else back. And then, if you brought back Felidar Guardian with Preston out, with Vesper Lark, then all of a sudden you're going to get a second Felidar. You just get to chain all your creatures back. It's very hard to lose your board state with this much stay power that we're looking at. But Vesper Lark is just a Nito Burrito card that I feel is criminally underplayed. It's elemental. Oh, and it has Evoke, so you can even just pay 2 mana to bring back one of your big 1-drops from the graveyard if you had to.
And the foil printing of that card looks just amazing, by the way.
Oh, let's take a look at it.
It's not going to show,
No, yeah, you won't get the...
You won't get the full effect. It's that light beam in the middle of the image that is just the cat's meow.
Cat's meow.
The cat's meow.
Alrighty.
And then Vesper Lark, did you have anything else in that creature reanimation package you were thinking of?
I got a lot of stuff. This deck is hard because there's just so many great cards to play in it. But let's move on to those enchantments. There's some reanimation enchantments. There's things that buff your team. There's ones that blink. There's a lot to go over, I think.
I think this was the other creature that I had considered for reanimation over and over again.
So this is called, Celestine?
The Living Saint?
The Living Saint.
Take a look at it, see what you think.
This is a 40k card?
40k card, yeah.
Yeah, Warhammer 40k. Boy. $10. It's not even that bad. Let's see what it does. So this is another reanimation type card?
Yeah. This is a repeatable reanimation effect.
Alright, so we have a 4 and a white, 3/4 flying lifelink legendary human warrior. It's got an ability that says at the beginning of your end step, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So you get to attack with it, you get to bring back a CMC 3 or less, because it has lifelink, and if you gain any other life this turn, you can get back bigger and bigger things.
Right. And you don't even have to go to combat with it if you're gaining incidental life somewhere else.
So I will say that a card like this makes me want to play those Capenna lands that gain you life.
I think that's...
Or even some lands that might add, like even Radiant Fountain seems like it might be fine. You know?
Right.
Is this a Deal 50 deck?
I mean, it could be. I don't think we're all in on it enough.
Probably not.
It's cute.
It's probably not our main plan, though. That's not really what we're working on.
No.
Same reason I didn't have Walking Ballista in my list, stuff like that.
Right.
Just kind of win with value and just grinding your opponents to pulp.
I really think the line is something that keeps bringing back Sarah Ascendant every turn, and then a way to sack it.
You get so much value just returning Sarah Ascendant every turn with Preston out. You're just getting 5/6 flyer every time it comes back. What do we got here, Kyle? What do you got? Let's see. It says for some good removal, use Skyclave Apparition. Yeah, that card's amazing. So we'll go ahead and put that one in. What else we got here? What do you say?
I was talking about a Skull Clamp with our illusions.
Oh man, Rodney, he knows what he's doing. This is what I like to see.
And then if we have enough historic spells going down the Tashar route.
Yeah, wow, Tashar is another big one.
Rally the Ancestors as well.
I got a lot of the Rally the Ancestors type style in mind, so that like when you do lose all your creatures, just like bring them all back. So you have like to Descend to Avernus and Return to the Ranks, and there's a lot of sweet cards. We're already at 92, but we're at 47 lands. So
yeah, our land count's way high. We got like 10 extra lands right now.
Yeah, why don't we just chop some of these planes out so I don't feel so scared? Remove. Never mind. It's not worth it. We'll cut when we need to cut. So what do you have here? Oh, Skull Clamp. Yeah, Skull Clamp is nuts too because it's even like a way to pay 1 to kill most of our 1-drop creatures to reanimate them again or get them back or do more with them.
Right. We talked about like not necessarily wanting
Sorry, everybody.
a ton of big sack outlets in that sense. Like, you know, I don't think this is like a bring all the altars deck.
No, I don't think it is either.
Although I wouldn't mind an Altar of Dementia in here to mill ourselves if we're trying to reanimate.
Yeah, totally reasonable. And one of the things that a lot of people probably don't realize about the free sack effects is it makes it very hard to exile your creatures from the battlefield. You know, people can't even like just exile it and make it go away forever. As long as they don't have graveyard hate, you can pretty much just get around that. It's fantastic.
And then are we playing our other 2 white enchantment sack outlets that we love so much?
I do like them both. So you remember the name on them?
Fanatical Devotion.
That one, yep. So Fanatical Devotion, 2 and a white. That's the sack creature, regen a creature, or is that the prevent damage one?
That's the regen one.
All right. Ancestors Apostle. Oh, Tashar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tashar is. I mean, our historic count isn't very high right now.
Not yet, no.
But it might get higher. I'll definitely, you know what I'll do for you though, Kyle, though? I think it's totally reasonable to consider this card. It's actually in my sideboard of my considering stuff and my cards that might work in this deck. Just so everybody knows, I just threw together a list of cards I thought would be good, and I'm already at 150 with no lands. So this deck has a lot of cool design space to it. We'll go ahead and we'll take it. Once it generates here, we'll go ahead and toss it in the considering. And if we get a lot of... Or I'll just leave it for now. And if we get a lot of historics, it'll stay. And if we don't, then it can get considered.
Skyclave.
I already put it in.
Oh, you did?
Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you what this does. Skyclave Apparition, 1 white, 2/2 core spirit. When it enters, you exile up to 1 target non-land, non-token permanent you don't control will convert mana cost 4 or less. That's a lot of text. But then when it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card's owner gets an XX blue illusion, where X is the converted mana cost of the exiled card. So they'll get a token if it leaves the battlefield, but it basically just eats things all day. I play this in my personal Yorion deck that I have, because you just blink it, and you just get to kill all the great stuff, and it's just gone forever. You don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yep. It is also...
at worst, they get a 4/4 on the ground. You know?
It is also one of my ways to win the game in Emil,
Yes, it
because
is.
turns out, you blink Skyclave Apparition and kill the entire board, and then you blink Kogla and fight them all.
Yeah.
They have nothing.
I recently lost that a couple weeks ago. It was really awesome.
Lauren of the Third Path, do we want to do that? I know that...
So I had Lauren in my original idea, but I actually came up with ones that sack themselves to destroy enchantments and artifacts.
Like a Cathar?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cathar Commando.
Also, Lauren is being... Legendaries are a little bit harder to play with Preston, because Preston makes a copy, and then the copy will immediately die. You'll still get the ETB,
right,
sure.
well, but it's the cast, right?
Yeah. But I mean, it's totally worth putting in the list, just to, even as a considering card or main deck, if we want to use that as a historic spell to trigger Tayshard more. But this was like my slam dunk pick. This card Steve turned me on to. I love this card. It's a 2-mana 3/1 human. If humans matter to you. It's got flash, and you can pay 1 to sack it to destroy an artifact or enchantment. This card is sneaky strong. You can literally flash it in, block something without trample, sack it to blow something else up, and then just annihilate your opponents on the way back. But oh wait, in our deck you just reanimate it too, and just keep doing it. It's really, really strong, and especially when you get free copies of it off of Preston, and then you can just pay the 1 to sack that copy. Because it's 0/1, it's not really doing much. It's so good.
I've also just used it as Doomblade.
I mean, yeah.
Like, 1 and a white, block your thing that you thought you were getting through with, and kill it. You know, like, cool Najila. It's dead now.
Yeah. Just like a Snapcaster as Doomblade too.
Yeah,
old days.
sure. Yeah, why not?
Sweet cards. The other ones that we were talking about was Martyr's Cause. This is another 3-mana white enchantment. Lets you sack a creature to prevent the damage from any source.
One source.
Any one source, yeah.
That does not mean that whole player's attack.
Correct. But you can sack several creatures and prevent that damage and that damage and that damage and that damage.
Sure.
And we're going to have all these extra O1s just laying around that might not be as useful. But it is a neat card. I think this came out as a list card, but it was originally in Urza's. And it's just it's surprisingly annoying to play against. So we want you to play it. Oh, man.
Shout out to Jeff Peak and King Darian.
King Darian, yeah.
Because Darian makes a lot of things you don't care about, and you just never can get hit.
We have to get Jeff up in here. Do some really crazy brew with us. with cards that not only combo, but are just good with the deck strategy in general. Gift of Immortality is really solid.
Yeah.
You can put it on Preston as protection. It combos with Sun Titan, as does the other card I want to put in here. It's
Gift of Immortality.
Angelic Renewal.
Yeah.
Gift of Immortality is about $5 now. Good lord.
Angelic Renewal is like free though, so it balances out.
Yeah. So let's see here.
If you need a copy of Angelic Renewal, let me know.
So this is Gift of Immortality, 2 and a white, enchantment, it's an aura. It says when the enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control, then return Gift of Immortality to the battlefield attached to it. Beginning of the next end step. The reason this works combo with Sun Titan is Sun Titan can immediately put it back on Sun Titan again. So you can just sack Sun Titan over and over for whatever purpose you need it for. If you have even a single Soul Sister out, you just gain infinite life right away. If you have anything that wins the game, or there's a creature that actually in white, like target a player loses 2 life, you would be able to, with Panharmonica, you'd be able to stack that trigger, so you can just get that back infinitely too and just murder everybody. But that's Magical Christmas Land. We don't usually play there, but it happens sometimes.
Right, but it's nice to have in the deck because if you're like, hey, these are really good cards. They play in the deck. You'll never be upset to have it in your hand. It's not like some piece where you're like, well, this only works if I have 3 other pieces, You always want to play these cards. They're just like, they're in the deck. They're great. But just if I get that magical Christmas land, we're going to do the thing. Angelic Reward, 1 and a white, enchantment. Whenever creatures put in your graveyard from the battlefield, you may sacrifice Angelic Reward. If you do, return that card to the battlefield. So we can loop it with Sun Titan. You can just leave it out there for protection. We got so many effects that do this Sun Titan thing in this deck. Like, we're more for creatures than anything else.
Oh yeah.
But getting this back is not hard, and like 2 mana protection, it also like has this interesting effect. The same way of like the like a Seal of Cleansing or like an Executioner's Capsule has on the game, where you put a permanent out there that has that type of effect. It just changes everyone's behavior. No one's gonna like waste removal knowing that you have this out there. Someone's gonna wait till they have 2 pieces. It just kind of like buys you time. It can buy you, and then people will just throw away interaction to it sometimes. We're like, oh, I'm gonna get you with this thing. Oh, I totally forgot that was sitting there.
Yeah, it's amazing how much game you can get out of a card just sitting on the battlefield. Was it Aura Silence is the prime example of that?
Right.
No one ever wants to blow it up because they'll lose their thing, but everybody doesn't want to play around it. It's a great squeeze card. I am going to put Rally in here that Kyle had suggested. We love this card. I love this card anyway. This card gets especially good when you have a sack outlet on the battlefield. Nope, I did an apostrophe like a dingling. Rally Ancestors. It's a white. I want to say X, and it says return. Let me look it up here. Instant, return each creature card with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then you exile those cards at the beginning of your exile those creatures at the beginning of your next end step. But the cool thing is you can bring them all back, get all your Preston triggers, and then just sack all the creatures so they go back to your graveyard again, so they don't get exiled. And then you've gotten all the sack value off of them from whatever you're sacking them to, in addition to getting all of those Preston triggers, and it can get back every creature card in your graveyard with X or less. So that means it literally can get back everything in your graveyard if you need it to. It's a very, very powerful card. This used to run a standard deck that would just annihilate people once they cast it. The game was basically over. It's a very cool card. What you got? Anything you want to talk about here? That's I like the card draw.
I think card draw is where we got to go next, for sure.
I've been really digging this Takazia's Welcome. It's another enchantment. It's probably not as good as the creature is, but it is a 3 CMC, so it does get blown up. The Sun Titan, Savine's Reclamation can get it back, that kind of stuff. Can tutor it up with Idyllic Tutor or Enlightened Tutor if you need card draw. Those are both great. There's a
it's one of those Mentor of the Meek, welcoming vampire style cards where you're getting something 3 or less into the battlefield, you get to draw a card, creature. So, speaking of which, we want to do welcoming vampire.
Yeah, I was gonna say welcoming vampire, but then the one that has it's the white elf. The white elf is amazing.
Rumor Gatherer.
Yeah, that card's awesome in this deck.
Is this a Benny Brax? Benny, what's his last name?
Benny Brax.
Benny Brax?
Yeah.
Benny Brax deck?
I don't know if it's a Benny Brax deck, but we could try it out and see if it works. Like I said, the only difficulty of using legendary creatures is they don't get doubled, and he has no ETB effect.
All right, let's stick with.
He is free because he's got Convoke, and this is a mono white deck. So there's some push and pull. I think if we need more card draw, he's a great add. But if we're like good on card draw, then we probably don't need him.
All right. Well, I think we want to do the creatures that enter in cantrip then, right?
Yeah, some of them are pretty awesome. I like the Doggo myself.
Right.
And it's an enchantment, so you can tutor it if you had to.
Spirited Companion.
Yeah. I don't think I'd want to play the Wall, but it's not terrible. Wall of...
We'll get another recommendation for a creature called Pulse Mage Advocate.
I'll check it out 1 second, Rodney. Let me just get the Spirited Companion in here. This is just a white Elvish Mystic that's also an enchantment dog. So it's 1 and a white, 1/1, enters, draw a card. With Preston out, if you reanimate it, you draw 2. It's fantastic.
Do you want the Angel that does the same thing, the new one? Inspiring
Cleric or whatever it is.
Where did it go?
Yeah, it's a 2/1 flyer for 2 and a white, enters, it gains a life, and you draw a card. Inspiring. I thought Cleric in my head, so let me click on... Oh, Overseer. It was Inspiring Overseer. Darn. I put the wrong one in. Come on. I mean, I don't want that in the deck, but you could play that card in the deck, technically speaking. Come now. Why don't we confirm this is Inspiring Overseer before I clicked the wrong one again. Yep, Inspiring Overseer. Okay. Come now, darling.
It's thinking. It's thinking.
I typed it wrong. I typed Inspiring Overseer. And then I want to see this one that Rodney wants us to check out.
Pulse Mage Advocate. I think I saw that one. I think you like... Oh, that's the one. Yeah. You get to, like... You tap it, you give an opponent 3 cards from their graveyard back to their hand. Not creatures, any cards. And then you get to reanimate something. No provisions.
Spell it right? Pulse Mage? Yeah, there it is. Well, it'll come up in just a second here, and we'll be able to take a look at it. There it is. Sounds pretty sweet. So return 3 cards in an opponent's graveyard to their hand. Whoa, that's... So you draw somebody 3 cards to reanimate something for free.
I think that's better in that, like, boom reanimator style.
I think if I was getting back like Iona, which I know is not legal in the format anymore, but like,
but like
Sarah Ascendant or what have you, Sarah, the big one that's protection for whatever card choice you want. That totally seems reasonable, but...
Or like if you're getting, or like, Avacyn or something.
Yeah, Avacyn's sweet. It is definitely a cool card. I'm not a big fan of giving my opponents anything ever, because that's how you don't win with card value and advantage. However, it is a really sweet card. Thanks for suggesting it, Kyle, because I think this is totally worth putting in the considering board as a really sweet, neat card.
Yeah, I think you could build a different version of this deck that played like the 4-mana white resurrection. You play like you don't have this like weenie kind of build to it, and you're just like Avacyn, like Rhea Dawnbringer.
Take all the dinky creatures out, put all the big ones in, jam this fella in there.
And put the Smothering Tithe in and like five more rocks.
Yeah, 5 more rocks for sure. But definitely a really cool card. Thanks for suggesting this. This is really sweet. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, like I really like creatures that sacrifice themselves. So something like a Selfless Spirit, just getting... And also, if you ever reanimate this thing, you're protected basically forever. You're not gonna have any more issues after that. But Selfless Spirit is a 1 and a white 2/1 flying spirit, and it just says sacrifice to give all your creatures indestructible until end of turn. It is quite powerful.
So we still got a couple slots left if we're going to cut some lands.
Yeah.
Do you want some more card draws? My boy Mangara make the list?
Like I said, it really depends on if we want to lean into the legendary aspect. Legendaries don't work with Preston in the in the being able to copy and reanimate in a way. They're great cards, don't get me wrong, but like being able to copy even just reanimating, just imagine you get to reanimate Ranger of Eos, and now you're going to get 4 1-drops out of your deck. You just drew 4 cards essentially, so that's really cool. And I don't know if we want to do any self-mill. I don't think this really is that type of build. Maybe it is though. Maybe put Milliken in here, and
I wouldn't mind.
I don't think they're great, personally, but
I don't mind Milliken because it's mana 2,
and it's a creature.
So, that's probably the most playable one. I don't necessarily think this is like a Mesmeric Orb deck. I don't think this is you could do a Codex Shredder, Perpetual Timepiece.
I mean, like I said, it really depends on which version you want to play. I like the Dinky Creatures version just because of all the swaths of huge reanimation that you can do. What is this Welcoming Vampire art? I've never seen this one before.
I think that was the special...
Is that the showcase frame? I like that one, actually. I don't usually like the showcases too much, but that is a pretty card. Although, to be fair, the original artwork's really nice, too.
Yeah. Did you... What are we missing? What do you want to do? You want more protection? You want more...
So, some cards that I was really into were... do we put Rumor Gatherer in? This is one that needs to be in this deck, I think.
I don't think we talked about it. I don't think we actually put it in.
No, it's not here. So Rumor Gatherer this is a snap play in this deck. I think no matter which version you build, this is the card you want to play. It's a 1 white 2/1. It's an elf wizard. It says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. And if it's the second time the ability's triggered this turn, you draw a card.
Yeah.
So anytime you reanimate even one creature, you're going to get to scry, then draw. And if you bring back anything else, you're just scrying through your deck. Which, if you scry enough, is kind of like drawing cards. It's not exactly like it. In my opinion, it's like 3 to 4 scries is worth about a card to me.
Sure.
But being able to just like bottom lands that you don't need, or big boom booms, or removal spells that aren't necessary right now, and be able to draw the reanimation that you're looking for, or digging faster to your things. And there's some turns you're going to have. I had one the other night, actually, on Friday. We were playing our Friday Night Magic, where my Rumor Gatherer triggered it was 15 times. Kyle was there. I was playing Zerium the Griffin, and I just made 15 of them, and then I'm just scry, draw, scratch, and it was awesome. And I wanted the game very handily, just because that card let me just have the perfect draws every turn. So I really dig it.
Something that I saw as another maybe protection to look into, this could just go right into our considering board if you wanted to, would be a Cosmic Intervention. I don't know if you've ever gotten to play with this card. I've seen it used a bunch of times. It's a 3 and a white instant. If a permanent you control we put into the graveyard from the battlefield this turn, exile it instead, return it to the battlefield and someone controls at the beginning of the next end step. And it has Foretell.
This is in my list of cards I put together. Yeah, it's a sweet card.
So kind of like a Teferi's protection effect that you're kind of looking for, where it's permanent, so it's not just your creatures, but it's one of these things where you then get all the Preston triggers too.
Yeah.
So the upside versus the Teferi's protection is huge. I think you play this list against people a bunch of times and you start foretelling a card, they're going to know what's on the table. But at the same time, I don't mind that because now everybody's got to play around it. What are you going to do?
Also, you can next level your friends. Once they get used to that, just swap it out for the Wrath that does that, and they won't play around it, and they're just going to blow them out. Hey, John, welcome. It's good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here. Hope the playoffs were good. What sports in playoffs right now? Football? Football. I used to be a big football fan. Do you think we like this card?
So the card Rich is talking about is we both like it a lot. Is Angel of Ruins. I think it plays better in the boom boom version of this deck that you're dropping big stuff in. This is harder to reanimate, but it is, I don't know what do we have for unconditional reanimation effects.
So that's the thing. I have a lot that we could play, but we're already kind of over, and this deck does look like it's very cohesive. But I wanted to mention that Angel of Ruins is just a sweet card if you're looking for a big thing that's easy to get in the bin, that also has a sweet ability when it enters the battlefield. And if for some reason you want to do the big version of bringing back huge things, this card is a slam dunk. 2 mana, Plains Cycle, go to your deck, get a Plains, puts it right in the bin, and then when it enters, it exiles up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments.
Yeah, exile's huge.
So when you get 2 of those, and it's a flying 5/7, just as a secondary awesomeness, and it's an artifact creature, so it does count towards your historic creature type if you need it, and it's got a lot of really cool utility to it. I don't think it belongs in this deck personally, but it's definitely a sweet card to consider. I'll lean against you here a little bit.
What else you got left?
What else do I have left? About 412. Oh, my spicy one.
Oh, that card, yeah.
All right, so
this thing.
So this is a removal spell. It's called Vengeful Dreams. I kind of stumbled upon. I actually never played this card before, which is pretty rare for me, because I've been around a long time. But it's really cool. It's a white instant, and I can't wait for it to come up. It's a nice. Hopefully, it hasn't been reprinted. It's just an old frame, old junky card that no one's ever going to play. Those are my favorites. We call those Jeff cards in our group. So there it is. All right, cool. So this is Vengeful Dreams, instant. As an additional cost to play it, to cast it, just discard X cards from your hand and remove that many attacking creatures from the game. So basically just I'm going to pitch these 3 1/1s I'm about to reanimate, exile that, and that's attacking me. It's just bonkers.
Doesn't say attacking you. Can't be attacking anyone.
Be attacking anyone. Just attacking creatures. So get them good. Oh, hey, you attacking my buddy over there? You know what? He made a deal. I said I would protect him. Those are all gone. Now my things are in the bin for me to start reanimating again.
All right, so we're at 110. We're probably maybe almost 10 lands high at this point. Maybe not quite. So what else do you have? Do you want to do?
So there's a couple of cards that I still think I would like to put in the deck. One of them, even though this is not a blink deck, I think Teleportation Circle is probably worth a slot.
Okay.
I don't think I would play Conjurer's Closet just because it costs more and it does the same exact thing. Granted, if that's an effect you like and you want to do the blinky way, play them. They're both awesome. Did I spell it right? Teleportation. Yeah. Portal? Portal?
Circle.
My poor brain. Too excited about this deck. Come now.
It was there.
I'm sorry I typed more, Moxfield. I didn't mean it. So, just to go over it, it's a 3 and a white enchantment that says at the beginning of each end step you can blink a creature or an artifact, and then it just comes back. So with Preston on the field, you could just blink any one of your things and get a free version of, like a free 0-1, a copy of it. Also, I can't believe I didn't think of Skull Clamp for my list. It's not even in my 150 plus cards. There's so many cards I didn't even know what to do because it's just, this is a really cool commander. I can't wait to get my hands on to put something like this together. This list even might just be the list that we play. And then the other one, just because I think it's basically white counterspell most of the time, is Ephemerate. It's just too much value not to play it.
It's too good to not. I mean,
we forgot 2 cards too. 2 very important cards in this deck.
All right,
we're gonna have to make some strict cuts here, but
that's all right.
Come on, Ephemerate. So 2 cards that I think are missing are Felidar Guardian and Restoration Angel.
You don't say.
Again, we're not trying to blink stuff, but the rate that you're getting them for and the power level of those cards is just incredible. And Felidar Guardian even can reanimate off of a whole bunch of different stuff with its low power. Hopefully it'll generate here, and Felidar can do. It does so many neat tricks, like just untap my Soul Ring so I can cast another thing this turn if I had to. You get 2 of those things. It just generates too much value.
I mean, it's another one of those things. You just cast that, and then you get to infinitely blink your whole team, or infinitely blink Felidar Guardian. So if you have a Soul Sister, infinite life.
Yep, so you play Felidar Guardian with Preston out. It makes a second Felidar Guardian. You blink the original Felidar Guardian, which makes a new one, which makes a new one, which makes a new one, so on and so forth. If you had haste in the deck, say through Crashing Drawbridge or something, you could literally deal 1 damage to somebody because they're all O1s. I don't know what I was thinking.
No, because we have anthems. You have the Malakindi Stampede.
Yeah, that's true. There is a line.
And you have the enchantment that gives them all to 2/2. So, that's a thing.
This definitely is a deck that seems like it doesn't win. I mean, you can infinite combo, but there's no win to. No, there's no win. Yes, there is. There's one. Do you see it? It's right here. So Alter Dementia. You need to have Alter Dementia out.
No, there's power.
No, hold on, because you need to also have. You need to also have
an anthem.
Where is it? Inspiring Leader out there.
Yes.
and then you make infinite creatures that have 2 power, and you Alter Dimension the table out. I don't know if Alter fits. It's a neat card, and it really fits the putting stuff in the bin strategy. Cool card though. There was another background that was really good with this. It's like a blinky background, a white blinky background.
Yeah, there is one.
And I don't know if you think that's reasonable to play. Like, you're basically generating advantage anytime you tap mana in this deck to do something, or not tap mana when something's just sticking on the field.
Yeah, I played the white blinky background in a list before. I can't remember the name.
Even if we end up cutting it, I still think it's probably worth putting in the considering board for those who might really want to dig it. Far Traveler. You know, although I do think that just like having yet another teleportation circle for. All right, that does say Far Traveler. I'm sorry, guys. Oh no, I spaced in the wrong spot. Far Traveler. It's from Mulan. You guys don't know, but Steve and I sat in the car on Friday night after Magic to discuss what deck we were potentially going to do tonight, and I was giddy like a little kid talking about this deck. And I'm really happy to see it come into fruition here.
We did talk about the new Jumpstart Soul Sister that they printed.
Oh, yeah. What's the name of it? I haven't heard of it yet.
Distinguished Conjurer. Conjurer. Wow, that's a butcher. Distinguished Conjurer. So this is a jumpstart one. It's
a jumpstart one.
It's a 1 and a white for a 1/2. It's got the same. Another creature enters the battlefield under your control, so it's not as good as the Soul Sisters because it's under your control. But it does have a 5 mana and tap flicker effect built into it, which is pretty sweet. Another one of those, like, if you don't have action, it's good to have a permanent that lets you take actions, right? If you don't have cards in your hands you want to extend, you can just use its ability.
It's pretty sweet.
Blink your anything, your dog, go get two dogs, draw 2 cards, gain 2 more life.
Yeah.
Trigger your Celestine, go to your end step, reanimate something.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. My only question, and I think Kyle gave us a little comment here as well. But my only question is, oh, never mind. Karmic Guide's in here. I was saying, how do we get Sun Titan back if it gets dead? But Karmic Guide, just the nuts at that. If you want to go with the discard that is similar to White Dreams card, there are Spell Shapers that discard a card for an effect. Avenger Endal exiles an attacking creature, and Devout Witness destroys
enchantment or artifact.
Those seem pretty sweet, Kyle. Let's take a look at them. Will you give me the first name?
Avenger Endal.
I'll wait for it to generate here. Ooh, just thought of another sweet land to add. Ooh, you know what I like about this card? 35 cents. That'll fit into my $120 to $140 deck range. Let's see. First one. Nice. So it is a 2 mana Spell Shaper, 1/1, 2 and a white, tap, discard a card from your hand to remove target attacking creature from the game. The controller gains life equal to its toughness. That's a really neat card. You like this?
It's Ron Spencer art too. Bonus points for Ron Spencer
art, yeah. Cool. All right, what's the other one he was talking about?
Devout Witness.
Devout Witness. Is the one that like makes a bunch of angels? No. I think it's something different. Another banger in the price department. Should show up right about here when it does come. There we are. Devout Witness, 2 and a white, 2/2. 1 and a white, tap, discard a card from your hand, destroy target artifact or enchantment. I don't think this one's as good as the first one. And we have lots of ways of destroying artifacts and enchantments.
Right,
but definitely
if you're paying 5 mana, waiting a turn, discarding a card.
The neat thing is if you do get a chance to copy it, it gives you like a great permanent that you can kind of just activate every turn to keep putting things in the bin if you're going to continue to reanimate stuff.
It's neat. Definitely throw that in the considering board for sure.
And then
you think that the Avenger has a home in here, or is that?
I mean, it runs the similar line of having to pay for it and wait for it, but it is. I mean, it's a pretty neat card. 3 mana is a lot to exile a creature. We do have quite a bit of removal, I think. What did I do? Oh, we're just in between generation here. But I can definitely consider this card. I don't know if it makes a main deck for me, but I definitely like it a lot. It's a really neat card. This one's a little less surprising than the spell that I had come up with, the white one. But definitely cool. Let me see.
Just looking for some things that say discard on them. If there's something else that we want to do.
There it is. Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Another great land to hit with your Wayfarer. And this gets back any of your enchantments that we get blown up. You got a lot of sweet enchantments here, so getting these back is great. It's a land you can get pretty easily. So,
do we want to play the best white enchantment and artifact removal spell, Heliod's Intervention, which also can gain us life if we needed to reanimate something? If we're going down that route, is that something we care about?
I think it's reasonable to add. we have a lot of creatures that deal with like artifacts and enchantments, like Cathar Commando and not Give Our Runes. What's the other one that has training? Hopeful Initiate.
Sure.
Let's see what else we got. If we're hurting for it, then definitely it seems worth playing. I always have Skyclave, which does a lot of heavy lifting. But I don't think it's necessary.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking through to see if there's anything else that I would want to play that has discard
Generous
on it.
Gift.
Now, was it Radiant Solar that you had originally talked about potentially playing in this list for some dungeoning?
It's a really neat card. I don't know if it fits because we don't have any the cards list that I had put together had about 10 different reanimation spells that bring back a creature.
Right.
So this is more of like a kind of overrun, continue the value style. But for those of you who don't know, Radiant Solar is quickly becoming one of my favorite commander cards, particularly in my Esper dungeon deck, which is Sephiroth. It's a 6-mana angel, 39 cents. Oh man, not that good, I guess, right? Because cost is directly related, isn't it? Just because people haven't discovered it yet.
I mean, if you wanted to play something strong that lets you discard cards, you could play Solitary Confinement.
Boy, that's a very powerful, very dangerous card because I don't like skipping my draw step.
Oh, I forget that it says that on there. Yeah, that's tough.
So this is Radiant Solar. It's a 5 and a white angel flying lifelink 3/6. The lifelink being very good. And it says whenever it or another non-token creature enters a battlefield under your control, venture into the dungeon. And then it has pay a white and discard it to venture the dungeon and gain 3 life. The reason that this card is really hilarious is because it's a win condition. So if you have a chain of what is it? You have Panharmonicon with Karmic Guide and a sack outlet.
Mm-hmm.
You can basically get this. You get 2 Karmic Guide triggers. So the first trigger on the stack, you can sack this, get it with back with the second trigger, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And you basically loop it, so you go through the dungeons infinitely, and you just kill everybody with dungeon drain life.
Well, this is the other card that came up when I was doing discard is the Channel Enchantment from Kamigawa. I don't know, probably want to bring this up so people can see it. It's seeing a little bit more play these days. It's an O-ring that you can channel, which is kind of neat.
Sweet.
So you can channel it to exile target artifact or creature, and then it returns it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So if there's a piece you got to get out of the way for whatever reason, you can do that, and it comes back. You can do it to your own thing to intentionally blink it.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
And then it goes to the graveyard if you channel it, and then you can bring it back with like a Sun Titan and then O-ring somebody's thing.
Yeah, it's just got so much utility. It makes sense to play in a deck like this. But this is Touch the Spirit Realm, and Steve just described it to you, so it's... Channel's really awesome. It's really hard to counter unless they have the Stifle effect.
Yeah.
And not too many people in Commander play Stifle effects. So, they'll be sitting on Counterspell, and you'll still be able to get their thing, or at least buy a turn with it. It's a really neat card.
And then the other one that you had mentioned, we talked about that does say discard on it, is the Restoration of Begunjo.
Yes, yeah. Restoration is... It's particularly neat because it also has reanimation on it, too, for CMC 2 or less, I want to say.
Yes. Right, so it's search your it's a 2 and a white saga, first chapter, search your library for a basic plains card, reveal it, put it in your hand. Second chapter, you may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent card with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So that can be a land, it could be one of our fetch type effects, it can be one of our permanents that we care about. And then third chapter, it exiles and returns transformed. So that is entering the battlefield without being cast. So it would trigger Preston to make a copy of the backside, which is Architect of Restoration, which is a Fox Monk 3/4 Vigilant that when it attacks or blocks creates a 1/1 spirit token. So it's going to continue to build.
How do I show the back?
So you click on the card, come up, and then there should be the option to flip it with a symbol on it when you hover over the art.
What's that? Purple.
I think you might want to do it over there on the left-hand side, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're running a little slow tonight, so I don't think it's gonna let me do that right there. No big deal though. It is a really neat card though.
I don't think we even need to put it in. There's other sagas that do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's some other playable ones. There's one that cares about artifacts and enchantments, and so you get a beater basically out of it. You know that blinks. I think there's like another version of this deck that like goes harder on mill too, like mills yourself really hard. I think a cute one for that is Planar Rebirth, Planar Birth. You ever play that card?
No, what does it do?
So Planar Birth is a 1 and a white sorcery that puts all basic lands from all graveyards into play under its owner's control.
Woo! I think if we were doing a lot of self mill, that would be absolutely bonkers for us.
Right? Like just an explosive amount of lands back. You know, because we're getting creatures back. You get lands back with some of our effects too. But you know, that's just a neat white card that most people don't know about. You know, like 2 mana sorcery ramp card, but you just have to be self milling, and have a bunch of planes is the thing, because it only cares about basics. So it's also good because like if you're playing against your average commander deck that you're going to sit down against the table, monocolored decks run around a lot less than multicolored. People are on less and less basics these days, so it can be more of a one-sided effect.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong. I don't know if I have much else that I thought would be just bonkers in here. So
no, I think
I'm ready to start chopping this bad boy up.
All right.
I'm not going to put it on the list, but just as a special note, Champion of the Parish is a 1 mana 1/1 human that says whenever another human enters, I put a counter on it. If you want to go the humans route with this, I think it's totally legit. There's some great 2-3 mana humans that are already in this list, and even better ones you can play to like Thalia's awesome if you want to really start to like play Locky pieces and stuff like that. There's a lot of really cool ways to build this deck that aren't just blink everything as much as you can. So try to explore the really neat space that the deck does give you. When I first looked at this commander, I go, oh, you're just going to blink stuff. Okay. But then when Steve and I really discussed it, it was really, really interesting to be able to say, like, let's try to do something completely different with it. And I didn't realize how many cards I was able to discover just coming up with an idea like this.
Yeah.
So don't take for granted that, like, just because a commander looks like it should be played one way doesn't mean it can't be played another. That's really cool.
Sure.
That said, I am totally going to build this week to play at Commander on Friday night.
So we're gonna make some cuts. We gotta get we're gonna start with the land count to get the kind of where we want to be.
Let's take a look at the curve, see what we're looking at here. Right. So pretty good. Lots of 1s, 2s, and 3s. It's pretty standard curve with the 1 being a little bit higher than usual. 14 permanents of mana value 1. That's of 19 total cards. So that's a lot of 1 mana things.
Yes.
Can we put Adnaz in here? I'm just kidding.
Al the Dawn's guy. Shout out Mono White Charles. You could do that with this deck.
So with me having such a low curve, I would think a 35 land deck would be reasonable. Because we're playing a bunch of tap lands and flip cards, I would say 36 is where I would usually land for a deck like this.
Okay.
You could even play less or more depending on what your comfort level is. Me, I just know we're going to be scrying a lot, and or we're going to be drawing a lot here and there, generating lots of value off of very little mana. The only thing is you want to be able to hit Preston on curve or early with one of the rocks if you can.
Yep.
Because getting Preston out is going to be key for this particular commander deck.
All right. So do you want the Capenna lands to go in before to get that count to what you want, or you just want to stick with the Terramorphic and the...
I think we should consider how many tap lands we currently have, and that'll give us an idea if we want to play those. Even those might be better than Terramorphic and Fabled Passage and
Sure.
Evolving Wilds, because they just gain a life and they do the same thing, you know? In fact, I'm okay just pulling Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic, and putting those 3 in.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's just start there.
So start there. I think Fabled Passage is totally worth a free one, though, because it's... You know, once you hit your 3 lands already out there, this card it's just a fetch for free.
Okay.
but I'm okay pulling. Don't get me wrong, I love Evolving Wilds, but it's totally not necessary for this. Whoa, what just happened? The mouse just jumped.
Oh, I probably hit this one over here.
Yeah. We're sharing mice here.
Dueling mice.
No. Me. And then we'll pull Evolving Wilds down. Like I said, just play them if you want, but they're fine cards. I think people really undervalue the fact that you can shuffle your deck or just get lands out to make your draws slightly better throughout a game. In our deck, you can Savine's Reclamation, Sun Titan it back a few times, and all of a sudden you're not drawing all that many lands moving forward. It also gets you to that Emeria very quickly because there are, a lot of lands in this that aren't plains. So getting the Emeria online is also very, very good.
Right, but right now, even though some of those lands are going to go get us plains.
Exactly.
So, do you need me to look up which ones say plains on them from New Capenna?
If you want, I can do that while you can do that while I start pulling out these regular planes here.
All right, that makes sense. Let's do that.
I dropped like 10 of these here, so remove all. I'll put in planes here.
All right, so I got the 3.
1 second. So I want to add more. 23. No. 23. Thank you. It was easier to just delete them and add 23 than it was to remove 10 of them.
One at a time.
There are 11 of them,
yeah. We're still learning all the Moxfield tricks. I'm sure some of the more experts out there would be like, "Oh, you just do this.
Yeah,
just hit Alt Shift 2 twice, and then I don't know. There's hotkey shortcuts. Moxfield is amazing. They're way better than our skill set can master there.
The only one I remember is Broker. Is that a white
Broker's
one?
Hideout, Cabaret Courtyard, and Obscura Storefront are the 3. What a strange set,
It's an awkward one. Also,
Storefront.
Can we talk about the huge punt, Wizards? If you're listening, how did you not put Krenko Mob Boss in the mob set?
Seems like it would have been a win.
What's up with that?
Did they all? I know you wanted them to be demon families, but could we have had the goblins were trying to come up, hiding in the sewers or something?
So I got Brokers in there. I got Cabaret Courtyard. What was the third one?
Obscura Storefront.
Obscura. That's the Esper one, right?
Yep.
Espers or Obscuras, I bet. There it is. Storefront. Yeah, storefronts are magic.
Yeah, sure. That's what I think of when I think of Magic the Gathering canon. Storefronts.
Storefronts and Transformers. Alrighty, so we're at 110 right now. That doesn't seem all that hard to shave it. Only 10 cards is a lot better than our first one, which was like 50.
I think the first cut that I saw was we had put a Tashar in that was like a cool considering card, but I don't think our historic count is high enough to make it really valuable.
So we have 10 artifacts. Also our commander, so that's 11. Let's see.
One
Milliken. Yeah, it's probably not enough historic cards to... Oh, Celestine. It doesn't seem like enough to make it good. But if you were going to... Just if you were building this deck and you wanted to go with... Wait, are Sagas? We have Sagas in here too, right?
Yeah, Sagas might be.
Sagas are historic.
And so is our Far Traveler and our Spying Leader. They're legendary.
Yeah, let me check the historic text here on Tashar. Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. And it's when you cast, so our legendary lands don't help. But right.
Yeah, but the Far Traveler and the Inspiring Leader do.
Yeah, Restoration of Ganj. That puts us 15. I don't know. It does seems kind of low. Maybe if we were, if we went Phyrexian, Ashnod's Altars, more artifacty creatures. Esper Sentinel actually counts, just so you know. But I don't think our count is high enough to justify playing that card, especially at its quote-unquote high mana cost for this deck.
Right, and you only get the payoff if you're casting if our engine is online and we're just kind of like buying things back from the yard, we're not casting, they're entering. That's the whole idea with Preston. So it certainly works in the deck.
Yeah, and Kyle, great suggestion. I have it in my list of cards, and I was kind of iffy on it. And if we ended up with a really heavy artifact theme, then it seemed like it would be like a slam dunk. What is this? Oh, Fanatical Devotion. Okay. So 9 more to go. Looking at this, the Bishop of Rebirth is not my favorite. It's good. It does reanimate. Like basically every turn you get to attack with it. Celestine, are we gaining a lot of life with this deck?
I mean,
on its front face, it's the same as Bishop Rebirth because you're going to connect, and then you'll gain the 3 life, and then you'll be able to reanimate a CMC 3 or less creature.
Bishop Rebirth is on the ground, and it doesn't have lifelink. It just has vigilance.
True.
So it's not going to trigger anything else that we have that goes with that. I think it's better.
Celestine is better than Bishop of Rebirth. The only nice thing about Bishop of Rebirth is if we get it back from the graveyard, we get multiples of it.
Right.
You know? Or if we blink it, we get multiples of it. And just being able to attack with an 0-1 to basically reanimate something is fine.
Yeah.
Whereas Celestine doesn't. But both those cards, they're kind of borderline for
I mean,
what
do you want to cut the Celestine because it's legendary?
I don't know. It is a really powerful card. And we could get back some boom booms with it if we're gaining life. But it does seem like it's... like we have to work hard for it. It also costs 5 mana, and we have to gain life on the turn that we're using it somehow.
Right.
So it's definitely...
I mean, we got...
like those 2 right there are very easy cuts, in my opinion. Or at least, reduced to the... considering board. Even though I like both those cards and really want to try out the Celestine. Although, are we pulling out too much reanimation where we're not... I got Karma Guide. We'll be fine. Can't lose when you got Karma Guide. Karma Guide Revelark pretty much buys the entire graveyard back by itself. Oh, that's not the one. Celestine. Click on this one, please. All these are pretty spectacular.
What about the Tragic Poet? What does that one do again?
That one buys enchantments back from the graveyard by sacrificing it. So tap, sack it, return an enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. And we have some pretty key enchantments. It's the only reason I consider putting it in. If we think it's cuttable, totally reasonable to take it out. Even though I do like cards like that. Maybe we could put even an Auramancer in here if you're worried about losing your enchantments. The thing is that Sun Titan gets back most of the key ones. Abiding Grace gets back Renewal.
Only 4?
Innovative Precision. Yeah, they're a really powerful one. But with that, we can also, because we have this Hall of Heliod's Generosity now, we don't really need the Tragic Poet.
Okay.
I did add it, and I didn't talk about it, but this is another land you can get off Wayfarer, and it just says tap to add a colorless, or you can tap 1 and tap it to put an enchantment card from your graveyard on top of your library. So basically what happens is, just in your upkeep or at the end of somebody's turn, you just put the awesome enchantment back, get it again, and just keep going. So I'm okay putting the Tragic Poet down. It definitely is a lesser card. It's a circumstantial card.
Sure.
Yeah. Do we have enough for the dispatch here? So we talked about we didn't have very many artifacts to begin with.
10, 11, 12.
12 seems really low to me.
Okay.
Especially because we're just not copying a bunch of artifact figures and stuff.
Sure.
I can definitely see, if you go with a more artifact-centric version, this is a slam dunk, but I don't think this deck, it works as well.
I'm going to do considering outside world.
Oh, sorry. I'll have to go change it over because I already clicked it. At least it puts it there instead of having to go all the way to the bottom. I wonder how many times we're going to instantly gain infinite life just by having Resto Felidar and one of these Soul Wardens out there or something,
Well, don't forget, you got Preston's second ability that allows you to sacrifice 5 illusions and blow something up. So you get a whole bunch of illusions. I mean...
That's such a powerful ability,
you could just throw a Phyrexian altar in here, too, if you really wanted to win the game with that. I think there's a version of this deck that could do that for sure. Just go get everything to go get Felidar Guardian, make infinite illusions, sack them to a Phyrexian Altar to make your colored mana and just blow everyone's permanents away, and then just I don't know what else you do there.
Seems pretty bonkers to me.
I mean, but no one's allowed to ever have permanents again. Non-land permanents.
I mean, we do. That's all that matters, right?
Oh, you cast that? Next action? Okay, I'm blow it up.
I'm actually wondering if these... don't worry about it. It's not... I'm talking like 1% issues. Like, Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds have a very, very small amount of value when people play like Urborg and Yavimaya.
Sure.
Because they can tap for color where these ones can't. Because they just enter and they sacrifice.
Right.
But I don't think that really matters enough to change them out right now.
Right. I mean, with our other legendary creature out, they're less valuable. We talked about them being really valuable with that. You gain 1 life with them thing being a trigger, so we don't really have a payoff for the life gain anymore.
Which one?
That was why we had the.
Oh yeah.
One of the reasons why we put
Celestine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see. Maybe cutting those, or you know what? They're still good with Suntide. They gain life. It's incidental. I'm okay with it. I think they're fine. You get one of these on turn 1 and one on turn 2, you're fine. And then you just slam like Savine's Reclamation, get them back, and ramp up and get some life. Just life gain is it's not the best in Commander, but it's certainly not. It's very underrated. I think sometimes you can just stay in a game longer and do my favorite thing, which is not die.
Right. So we're at 105 cards. We're at an hour and 40 minutes ish on the clock now.
Yeah.
So let's make these final 5 cuts and wrap this thing up for everybody.
I think Radiant Solar is a pretty easy cut. You can need a lot going on with this card to win with it. And it's 6 mana on its front face, similar to Celestine in its stats too. So I'm okay pulling that. This Inspiring Overseer seems a lot worse now. It is a cool card, but like having like Skull Clamp and then like Welcoming Vampire, Takazia's Welcome, it just doesn't seem like this one individual creature is powerful enough at its 3 mana cost.
Sure.
I had all like 5 of these versions of this thing in here. I just kept on pulling that was the only one I left, but then it just seems kind of weak. Milliken is still really neat, and I like it as a ramp card, I think. Just because, like, putting extra cards in your bin is not going to hurt you, I don't think, unless it's one of these. By the way, if you get Ranger Eos in your opening hand, you have like 3 lands, that's like a slam keep. Ranger Eos is basically just going to get your game plan rolling here. A Brought Back is a little narrow for me. Let's see here. Spirited Companion is probably, just because the rate is so low, probably worth keeping. Mm-hmm. Also dies to Skull Clamp, which is nice. Let's see here. Anything you're noticing? What's a Sarah Paragon? This is the... Oh, that's... yeah, that one's pretty neat. But it does exile the permanent. So if you get back creatures with it, you'll never be able to get them back again. Still good for getting back lands and artifacts and stuff like that if you get milled or... especially these... actually, I like this card. It's really good with the...
The fetches?
No, it's not. It's terrible with those fetches because once they get sacrificed, you'll never get them back again.
Yeah, but
they gain life.
One-time use is still like...
it's still good. It's just you don't get to repeat it. That's all.
You just get to do it twice.
It's also a 3/4 angel for 4 that flies. It's not bad. Are you seeing anything that seems pretty obvious? This is where I was struggling with my cuts.
Is the Blinky your commander has to be out thing maybe a cut there? The
Far Traveler?
Yeah.
It might be. Like, the thing is like, if Far Traveler is not good enough, then Teleportation Circle isn't good enough, right? Oh.
One cares about your commander.
One cares about your commander, but you really want to blink stuff because your commander's out, but Teleportation Circle still can blink just like a Naked Sun Titan still be good, so yeah. I think you're right. I think this is an easy cut. Not cut, but just doesn't make this particular 100 we're working on. Let's see here. This is a pretty streamlined deck, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, what do we...
With the amount of weight and 2 more to go. Let's see here.
What's our land count with MDCs now?
36.
Okay. And then we're on how many ramp cards?
We have just cut a lot of big mana cards. I just want to check out this CMC one more time here.
Wow, we're down to total mana value at 167. This deck is lean.
It is very lean. We might be able to shave another land. I don't know if we should, but we have a pretty good amount of ramp here.
So what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rocks plus a Milliken.
Yeah, 7 rocks, a Milliken, and then we have ways to get lands with Weather Wayfarer if we're behind on lands. Savine's Reclamation helps us ramp. If there's lands that
The
have been
brought back can ramp you.
brought back can ramp you. Another neat utility of that card. This Faith's Reward requires all your permanents to have died, so it's good with the sack outlets. It seems likely fine. Rally does require you to basically have the sack outlet to make it good, because otherwise you just bring them back and they're all gone again. You're stuck with just the L1s. So I think that I could consider moving this to
out.
Yeah. Like, in response to your rally, I'm gonna blow up your one sack outlet that you have. So it's definitely more fragile.
Sure.
One more card. Are you kidding me? This list is perfect already.
Is it just Fractured Power Stone?
No, I refuse. I really think getting Preston out on 3 is really powerful in this deck, because you can drop turn 1 tap land, turn 2 mana rock, turn 3 Preston, turn 4 profit. It's kind of like the curve you're looking for if you can nail that.
Is it Hopeful Initiate? Is it like that's just not good enough because it has to train to do the thing versus our...
No, I don't think so. Because remember that when it comes back with Preston, I don't think the 1-drops are really important to keep.
Yeah.
Because we tutor for 1s, then we have a 1 reanimation package with Patch Up and Proclamation of Rebirth, Recommission, those kind of things.
And Abiding Grace. And
Abiding Grace, yeah. So I don't think that I think our 1-drops are fairly tight. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, this is really a deck that's going to basing its whole game plan around creatures coming back and forth. Having only 29 now, that's a little low.
Yeah. They're going to be using the same creatures a lot. By the way, if you want to see different creatures, this is not the deck for you.
The same creatures over
You're going to see
over.
a lot of the same creatures coming back over and over again. You're going to sacrifice Vesper Lark 10 times a game and just keep getting tons of value and blah, blah, blah. So definitely I could see cutting maybe Selfless Spirit.
Maybe maybe an interaction piece would be the other kind of something we don't need as much. Is it just the Faith's Reward?
What is the there was another one that's just like Faith's Reward, Cosmic Intervention. Which one do you like better? Because they both kind of do the same thing, right? This one has the neat foretell ability though. They both kind of occupy a similar space at a high mana cost.
Sure.
They're instants that kind of protect you.
I'll leave it up to you. You pick one, drop it, and we're good to go.
I like the Cosmic Intervention. Try new cards. Those Faith's Reward's just it's been done. And
That's 100.
it should be. Let's start moving it. Alrighty. Preston the Vanisher on Baby Reanimator.
Little white weenie Reanimator.
So with cutting that last 4-drop, I just want to see one last time. 163 for the total mana value.
Wow.
That's pretty good. Look at this curve here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, look at you'll just scroll down a little bit. Your test hand. Look at your test hand.
This is a great test hand. I'm going to turn 1 plain Soul Ring Pearl Medallion, win the game next turn. You got interaction.
Not even going to discount on any of those things with Pearl Medallion.
No. But you get to play Preston and then play Ameria.
Yes.
And then you get to just win after that. Play Hopeful Initiate. No, I mean, it's still a really good hand. I think I would keep that.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course you would.
Just for ha-has here. And 2 lands seems like 2 to 3 lands seems like a good opener. This is heavy. Remember, Resto can't blink Angels, but blinking Spirited Companion gets you to where you're going. Got a removal spell. No ramp, but I still think it's probably a fine hand. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I think this is your probably your easiest win condition.
I think it would be absolutely hysterical to build a literal army of Sarah Ascendants. There are so many ways that you could just go get that card, put it into play, and just begin to keep copying it over and over and over again.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I super dig. So I think that's our list.
I love it. I think it's really cool.
This is awesome.
Very cool list.
It's kind of neat.
I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for joining us. Join us Mondays at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, as we brew something else off. You got some suggestions for the next commander, hit us up. You can check out our link tree, check us out on Instagram, check us out on Twitter. Hit us up and let us know what you guys have brewing. Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, have a great night, everyone. I'm going to crush with this.